Okay, this is where the process starts. I, of course, catch the fish. These are all rainbow trout from White Swan and Silver Spring Lake. I try not to freeze them too long. A few of these have been in the freezer for a couple months, but basically they're all cleaned, sprawled out, and put on the trays for the smoker. I'm not going to cook them right through in the smoker because they're going to get canned. Just trying to infuse good strong smoke flavor and cook them enough in the smoker to get to peel the skin off. Anyway, there they are. I basically thawed them last night, threw them in the sink here, and gave them a second good cleaning this morning in cold water. And from here, off they go into the smoker for probably 2 to 3 hours. Didn't mention this step here. Kind of a nasty day out there today. Where I don't know if you can get a look at it, but it's running about -20 right now. -22 on that one. But cold day. I got the Bradley smoker here warmed up. Had the smoker for probably 8 or 10 years now. Anyway, I had a Little Chief before that, but they're great smokers, but pretty much have to be 25 degree summer day for them to work. Cold weather, they just don't heat up. I've had a lot of success with this Bradley. It's been a good smoker. All I use it for is fish. It's anything I put in there now, other than fish, winds up tasting like fish. But what I'm going to do is, I've got an oven in my garage, and I've got that preheated right now to about 375. So I'm going to fire them in just for about 15 or 20 minutes. Basically just get the cooking process started, warm them up. So when they go in the smoker, they're already nice and warm. So I'm going to fire these guys in, and then into the smoker. Pretty straightforward. The pucks basically drop into the sleeve in the smoke generator. You place them in and plunk them down, and they stack up. Got some visitors this morning. They're eating the berries off my tree. It's a flowering crab. But they come in and pick them all up. Anyway, we'll load this guy up. I'll put all 12 in. One hit the dirt here. The smoker is sitting right now at 275, so it's nice and warm in there. I've already advanced a biscuit, and should start getting some smoke in about 10 minutes here. That's a young fellow there. I think Mum's just around the corner, but working on the berries. Okay, 375 for about 20 minutes. They're firmed up and starting to cook a little bit. I'll load these trays into the smoker. I got 4. These Bradleys have 4 racks. You can get quite a few fish on. But I'll load them into the smoker and let you have a look, see what that looks like, and we'll let them go. Okay, they're loaded. It's actually just advancing a biscuit right now. You'll see this one push out. This piece right here is a hot plate. As the biscuit advances, it'll light, start to smoke. And then in 20 minutes, the next one will come along and push that one into this stainless steel bowl here. But they're in, ready to go. Let's give her about 2 to 3 hours. See what they look like. Okay, well, the fish are out there in the smoker. I'm gonna get to work on the jars here. Been doing this for a lot of years, and these Bernardin 250 ml jars are hands down the best jars to use for canning your fish. They're pretty good single serving size. I've tried other sizes and I've always gone back to this, so what I'm going to do is I got 24 here. I'm going to run them through the Maytag. Dishwasher's got a sanitized setting, so I'll run them through. 24 rings. I boil these before I put them on, and always new lids. I got a dozen here, but I'm going to have to run over to the local grocery store and get a few more supplies today. So I'll pick up another pack of 12. For 4 racks of fish in my smoker, I've just gotten good at figuring out how many jars I'll need. On those 4 racks on a full smoker like that, I usually find it fills pretty much 24 jars, give or take. But we'll get these guys in the dishwasher, run them through a cycle, and continue on. Just something a little off topic here. I picked that up for Christmas for the family. It's an espresso machine, and I gotta say, I am loving it. Makes fantastic coffee, but it's a little loud and it vibrates pretty good as it's brewing. But had a Keurig for a lot of years, and this thing shines. It outperforms that Keurig 10 to 1. Makes absolutely fantastic coffees. If you like espressos or cappuccinos, it's got the frother, and it's a hell of a good machine. Just thought I'd throw that one in there. Okay, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark here. She's smoking away pretty good. I'm gonna have a look at them. Woo. Yeah, they're cooking. You can hear them sizzling. These are pretty thick fish. I'm gonna give them another half hour. They're still looking a little bit on the moist side, but starting to firm up pretty good. Not too bad. I'll close her up here. It's day for yard visitors today. Get another one here. You can spot him there in the trees. There's a spruce grouse sitting right there. I don't know if you're picking him up. He's in the hedge between the yards here. There he goes. Okay, they're done. give another half hour, and they're looking pretty good. Pretty cool out today, so I'm gonna just leave the door open here, let them cool off a bit, and we'll bring them inside, and I'll show you the next step. Just give you a quick rundown on the ingredients. I use pretty simple white vinegar, canola oil. I like the heavy kosher salt, and you see it there, 100% pure Canadian maple syrup. Yeah, you got to get the real stuff. It's imparts the best flavor, I find. It's expensive. You pay for it. This around $10 a bottle. Best deal around really is Costco. But I'm a couple hours from a Costco, so I'm stuck with this one today. New snap rings. For those 250 ml jars, you need the 86 ml heads. I know any American viewers are gonna be listening to all this metric crap, but it's what I gotta live with. And the rings, I'm gonna boil those up along with the snap rings before we process. You'll see how all that goes. I took all the fins, all the skin off. I just use a butter knife and peel it off. It comes off just like a banana. They peel really well. And out of that pile of fish, I got, I'd say, good 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds of skin and fins. I had a friend of mine tell me that I'm performing microsurgery on my fish, but I find it's a necessary step. A lot of people will go ahead and can the skin and the fins. I do leave the bones in, but that's what the vinegar is for. Breaks them down during the canning process. Just produces a much cleaner product, but and talk about soft hands. The oil from the fish. Okay, basically the way I do it is I'll start with 12 jars, and I lay out my ingredients in bowls: maple syrup, salt, oil, and vinegar. Tablespoon of maple syrup, 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. I use 1 teaspoon of canola oil and 1/2 teaspoon of vinegar. I can't find my 1/4 teaspoon measuring device, so we'll just use a pinch today. And basically I put all the ingredients in the jars first, and then I'll stuff the jars with the fish, and I'll leave about a 1/4 inch headspace, not quite filling them right to the top. And as I'm doing that, I've got the rings and the lids, and I'm going to get them going at a simmer. I'll boil the rings a little bit, but the snap lids, I just bring them up to a simmer. It helps soften the seal, and from there also I use a Presto pressure canner. I can go into a little bit of a speech about pressure canning versus just boiling fish in a conventional canner. If you're going to can fish, you need a pressure canner. Basically, the way it was explained to me was mold and yeast are destroyed at temperatures around 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's pretty close to the temperature of boiling water. But bacteria doesn't get destroyed until the temperature reaches about 240 degrees, which can only be achieved in a pressure canner. So I highly recommend anyone canning fish use a pressure canner. All the years I've been doing it, I've never had a can go bad on me. I'm pretty fussy on the way I lay things out and the cleanliness of everything. But basically everything will be destroyed once they go through the canning process. At my altitude, I can them when the canner gets up to, I don't know, it's usually around 13 pounds, 14 pounds. I'll let that go for 90 minutes and then pull them. I live at about 4,000 feet above sea level, so your canner comes with an excellent guide. Actually, it's if you buy a new one, it'll come with a just a guide to pressure canning, and all the information is in here. They're fairly expensive. If you see one at a garage sale or at a flea market or anywhere, I highly recommend you pick them up. Excellent tool to have in your kitchen if you're going to do any canning at all. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll fill the jars with all the ingredients. I'll stuff them, and I'll put the lids on, the rings, and I'll show you how I stack them in the canner. My canner holds 24 jars. I use a couple simple things I found that helped over the years. Is one of these little magnets here. Basically, you use it to pick up your snap rings out of the boiling water or your simmering water, so it keeps your hands free. Really handy little gadget. And just a pair of these tongs. They pull the hot jars out when they're done, after they're done in the canner. Simple and cheap, but they work really well. Okay, we've got 12 jars stuffed here. Another thing I do as I go, as I break the fish down, I pick out all the big bones, the back bones. As the fish comes apart, I try and leave it in whole pieces, but it's easy to split them in half and just pull the main backbones out. The vinegar apparently is supposed to break down any of the bones that do get into the jars. But I'm going to have to put some more jars in the dishwasher. I'm probably going to need another dozen. But they're all stuffed. So we'll have a look at them when they're in the canner next. But basically, I'm going to put together about 24 like that. And also, I use just a piece of wet paper towel, and I'll make sure I wipe every single rim off before I drop the lids over top, just so your rim is nice and clean. You got no obstructions between that and your snap lid. You fill the canner, and your jars are actually immersed. I bring the water level up, usually just to the top of the rim of the top row of jars. So it gets pretty heavy. It's a lot of water in there. Also, what I do seems to help. I take a little bit of vinegar and I just add a few tablespoons to the canner, and it prevents the jars from turning white. We have really hard water here, so you'll tend to get a good white deposit built up after 90 minutes. So what I'll do now is I'll get the canner going, get her on the stove. Once it's up to temperature and pressure, to 13-14 pounds, I'll turn the heat back, and then I start my timer. I'll give them 90 minutes at 13-14 pounds. I'll take a quick shot of that when the canner's going, and then you get a look at that. It's actually holding at around 15 pounds. And we got the timer on. 90 minutes. Well, there they are. I ended up with 29 jars in total. I gave a few jars away this morning. We're into the second day. I didn't catch all those fish on my own. I had help, so I passed a few jars out. I've typed up a copy of the recipe. I'll include that. I don't profess to be a professional canner. I'm just showing you what I've learned and some of the mistakes I've corrected over the years, and this particular method works for me. Like I said, I've never had a can spoil. Alright, I also apologize for my demeanor. I'm a little dry. One of my first videos I've ever uploaded, but I hope you guys enjoy it, and thanks for watching.